Admiral Sarah Chen floated in the zero-gravity observation deck of the UES Prometheus, watching through reinforced transparent aluminum as the final components of humanity's greatest secret were assembled in the asteroid belt mining station designated Charlie 7. 3 kilometers away, robotic construction drones guided massive hull sections into place on what would become the largest warship ever built by human hands. The vessel was so immense that it dwarfed the space stations that had constructed it, a leviathan of composite armor and quantum weaponry that represented 25 years of clandestine development. "Final assembly completion in 72 hours, Admiral," reported Commander Marcus Webb, his voice carrying a mixture of pride and apprehension through the comms system. "All 12 dreadnoughts will be operational within the month." Sarah nodded, though her expression remained grim despite the magnitude of their achievement. For a quarter-century, humanity had maintained the illusion of being a peaceful, technologically inferior species content with their small corner of the galaxy. While alien civilizations had engaged in their complex diplomatic dances and territorial disputes, assuming that the young human race posed no significant threat to the established order, Earth's greatest minds had been working in secret to ensure their species' survival. The deception had begun in 2157. Just 15 years after humanity's first contact with the Altarian Trade Federation. The initial meeting had been peaceful enough, with the centaur-like Altarians welcoming humanity into the galactic community as a, quote, developing species suitable for limited trade relationships and minor resource agreements. But intelligence gathered through those early diplomatic exchanges had revealed a terrifying truth. Every species that had achieved interstellar capability was viewed by the galactic powers as either a useful client state or a potential threat to be eliminated. The Kithron Empire, humanity's nearest neighbors, had been particularly explicit about their views on emerging civilizations. During what they believed was a private communication with Altarian officials, Kethran Admiral Voska had dismissed humanity as another short-lived carbon-based species that will either accept vassalage or require extermination within the next century. The transmission had been intercepted by a human intelligence operative who had infiltrated the Altarian communication networks, and its contents had changed everything about Earth's approach to galactic politics. "They see us as primitives playing with fire," President Elizabeth Harrison had said during the emergency session of the Global Defense Council that had authorized Project Leviathan. "They're waiting to see if we'll submit to their authority or give them an excuse to wipe us out. Either way, they don't consider us capable of being a real threat." That assumption would prove to be the greatest strategic miscalculation in galactic history. The Leviathan project had been conceived as humanity's insurance policy against alien aggression. But it had evolved into something far more ambitious. Using a combination of revolutionary human engineering and carefully acquired alien technology, Earth's scientists and engineers had developed weapons and defensive systems that surpassed anything currently deployed by the galactic powers. The key breakthrough had come from Dr. Yuki Tanaka's team at the Luna Research Facility, who had discovered how to weaponize quantum entanglement in ways that alien civilizations had never imagined. The aliens have had faster-than-light travel for millennia, but they've never thought to apply quantum mechanics to weapons systems, Dr. Tanaka had explained to the Project Oversight Committee. They rely on particle beams and fusion explosives because that's what's always worked. But quantum disruption weapons can bypass any known shielding technology and strike targets instantaneously across vast distances. The development process had required unprecedented secrecy and coordination. Raw materials were mined from asteroids in the outer solar system by automated systems to avoid detection. Manufacturing took place in hidden facilities built inside hollowed-out asteroids, their energy signatures masked by natural cosmic background radiation. Even the workforce was compartmentalized, with most engineers and technicians believing they were working on civilian space infrastructure projects. The greatest challenge had been acquiring alien technology without revealing humanity's true capabilities or intentions. This had been accomplished through a network of human operatives who had integrated themselves into alien society over decades, posing as traders, researchers, and cultural exchange participants. They had systematically gathered intelligence on alien military capabilities while feeding false information about human technological limitations back to their hosts. Lieutenant Colonel Maria Santos had spent 8 years living among the Altarians, ostensibly studying their agricultural techniques while actually mapping their military installations and communication networks. Captain James Morrison had established himself as a successful trader in the neutral zone, using his business relationships to acquire samples of alien armor and shielding materials. Most remarkably, Dr. Lisa Park had become the first human to be accepted into the prestigious Kethren Institute of Technology, where she had spent 5 years learning about their propulsion systems while carefully concealing her true level of expertise. The hardest part wasn't learning their technology. Dr. Park had reported during one of her clandestine briefings with Earth intelligence. It was pretending to be impressed by it. Their faster-than-light drives are elegant but inefficient. Their weapons are powerful but crude. They've had these technologies for so long that they've stopped innovating. This technological stagnation among the alien civilizations had been humanity's greatest advantage. While species like the Kethrens and Altarians had reached a comfortable plateau of development, content with their established military doctrines and diplomatic arrangements, humanity had approached every challenge with the desperation of a species fighting for survival. The result was a fleet of 12 dreadnoughts that represented a quantum leap in military capability. Each vessel was 3 kilometers long and mounted with weapon systems that could devastate entire planets. Their armor incorporated quantum-locked materials that could absorb and redirect energy attacks. Their propulsion systems could achieve faster-than-light speeds that exceeded anything in the known galaxy. Most importantly, their quantum communication arrays allowed instantaneous coordination across galactic distances, giving humanity a tactical advantage that their enemies couldn't counter. But the ship's most revolutionary feature was their stealth capability. Using a combination of exotic matter manipulation and quantum field generation, the dreadnoughts could become completely invisible to all known forms of detection. They could appear to be empty space to visual observation, background radiation to energy sensors, and quantum vacuum to gravitic detection systems. We've essentially created ships that exist in a quantum superposition, explained Dr. Tanaka to Admiral Chen during the final systems testing. They're simultaneously there and not there until they choose to reveal themselves. It's like having a fleet that can materialize out of nothing. The strategic implications were staggering. Humanity could position these vessels anywhere in the galaxy without their enemies knowing, creating a deterrent that was both invisible and absolute. The aliens who had dismissed humanity as a minor power would find themselves facing a military force that could strike at will from complete concealment. The first test of the new technology came sooner than anyone had anticipated. Intelligence reports indicated that the Kethren Empire was preparing to issue an ultimatum to humanity: accept formal vassalage or face military intervention. The message would be delivered during a diplomatic meeting on the neutral world of Kepler Station, where human ambassador Robert Chang would be expected to submit to Kethren authority or see his species marked for extinction. They're not even trying to hide their contempt anymore, Ambassador Chang reported during his final briefing before departing for Kepler Station. Admiral Voska told me directly that humanity has 30 days to accept Kethren protection or face the consequences of continued independence. The threat was unambiguous, and humanity's response would determine the future of their species. For 25 years, Earth had maintained the fiction of being a peaceful, technologically limited civilization. Now it was time to reveal the truth about what humanity had become. Admiral Chen received the authorization she had been waiting for during a secure quantum communication from Earth Command. The message was brief but decisive. Project Leviathan is authorized for full deployment. Demonstrate humanity's true capabilities. Ensure our species' survival. The demonstration began with the arrival of the Kethren fleet at the edge of human space. 12 massive battleships, each one a kilometer in length and bristling with weapons, took position around Earth's outer colonies in a classic intimidation formation. Admiral Voska's flagship transmitted the expected message on all human communication frequencies: surrender or face extermination. What happened next would be remembered as the moment when humanity's position in the galaxy changed forever. The first sign that something was wrong came when the Kethren sensors detected massive gravitic distortions throughout their fleet formation. Before the alien crew could react, 12 human dreadnoughts materialized out of apparent nothingness, each one positioning itself directly alongside a Kethren battleship. The alien vessels, which had seemed massive and intimidating moments before, now looked like escorts accompanying much larger warships. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Fleet," came the transmission that reached every ship in the Kethran formation simultaneously. "You have entered human space with hostile intent. You have exactly 60 seconds to withdraw or face the consequences." Admiral Voskow's response was predictable. The Kethran commander, unable to believe that the primitive humans could have developed such advanced vessels, ordered his fleet to open fire on the mysterious ships that had appeared among them. The battle lasted less than 3 minutes. The Kethran particle beams and fusion missiles struck the human dreadnoughts with devastating force, energy discharges that should have vaporized any known vessel. Instead, the quantum-locked armor simply absorbed the attacks, converting the incoming energy into power for the human ship's own systems. The alien weapons were literally feeding the strength of their targets. Humanity's response was swift and decisive. Quantum disruption beams struck each Kethran vessel simultaneously, bypassing their shields and armor as if they didn't exist. The weapons didn't destroy the alien ships. Instead, they systematically disabled every military system while leaving life support intact. Within minutes, the entire Kethran fleet was powerless and helpless, drifting in space like broken toys. "Your weapons are offline, but your crews are unharmed," Admiral Chen's voice echoed through the disabled alien ships. "This is a demonstration of humanity's true capabilities. You will return to Kethran space and inform your leaders that Earth is no longer interested in discussions of vassalage. Any future aggression against human territory or interests will result in the complete destruction of your military forces." The psychological impact of the demonstration was as important as the tactical victory. For the first time in galactic history, a developing species had revealed military capabilities that completely outclassed the established powers. The implications rippled through every alien civilization, as word of the encounter spread. The Altarian Trade Federation immediately requested emergency diplomatic meetings to renegotiate their relationship with humanity. The Zephyrian Collective, which had been planning their own expansion into human space, suddenly discovered urgent business in the opposite direction. Even the mysterious Sindari, the ancient species that rarely involved themselves in galactic politics, sent observers to assess this new power that had emerged from nowhere. But the most significant reaction came from the Galactic Council, the loose confederation of major alien civilizations that had dominated interstellar politics for over 2 millennia. For the first time in centuries, they called an emergency session to address a threat they hadn't seen coming. "How is this possible?" demanded Councillor Thixvar of the Hegemony during the closed session that human intelligence operatives were secretly monitoring. "Our scouts reported that human technology was centuries behind our own. They should be incapable of building anything more advanced than chemical rockets and fusion reactors." The answer to that question was becoming clear to alien intelligence agencies, as they desperately tried to piece together how humanity had developed such advanced capabilities without detection. Reports began surfacing of human operatives who had been active in alien society for decades, individuals who had been gathering intelligence and technology while carefully maintaining the illusion of human inferiority. The scope of humanity's deception was staggering. Nearly every major alien civilization discovered that they had been infiltrated by human agents, people who had learned their languages, studied their technology, and reported their weaknesses back to Earth. The species that the aliens had dismissed as primitive had been conducting the most sophisticated intelligence operation in galactic history. "They played us," Admiral Voska admitted during his testimony to the Kethran High Command. "For 25 years, they let us believe we were superior while they learned everything about our capabilities and developed countermeasures we never imagined possible." The revelation that humanity had been capable of such long-term strategic thinking and operational security forced every alien civilization to completely reevaluate their assumptions about human intelligence and intentions. The species they had seen as short-sighted and technologically limited had demonstrated planning capabilities and strategic patience that surpassed anything in their own experience. More disturbing to the alien powers was the realization that they had no idea how many other human capabilities remained hidden. If humanity could conceal the construction of 12 massive dreadnoughts, what other secrets might they be keeping? How many more human operatives were active in alien society? What other technological breakthroughs had they achieved without anyone noticing? The uncertainty was perhaps more destabilizing than the demonstrated military power. For the first time in millennia, the established galactic order faced a completely unknown variable, a species whose true capabilities were impossible to assess and whose intentions remained unclear. Humanity's response to this uncertainty was masterful in its simplicity. Rather than gloating about their deception or making demands of the alien civilizations, Earth's leadership adopted a stance of calm professionalism that was somehow more intimidating than any show of force could have been. Humanity has no interest in conquest or domination, President Harrison announced during her address to the Galactic Council. We simply want to secure our species' future and our right to exist as an independent civilization. We have demonstrated that we possess the capability to defend ourselves and our interests. We hope this demonstration makes future conflicts unnecessary. The measured tone of humanity's response was more unnerving to the alien leaders than threats or ultimatums would have been. It suggested a level of confidence and strategic thinking that implied even greater hidden capabilities. If humanity was this calm about revealing 12 dreadnoughts, what else might they have in reserve? The truth was that the 12 dreadnoughts represented only the first phase of humanity's military development. Even as the alien civilization struggled to assess the threat posed by the revealed fleet, construction was already beginning on the next generation of human warships, vessels that would make the current dreadnoughts look primitive by comparison. Deep in the outer solar system, automated shipyards were assembling the components for what Project Leviathan's planners had designated as Phase 2, a new class of vessels that would incorporate technologies so advanced that they bordered on science fiction. These ships would be capable of manipulating space-time itself, creating localized distortions that could transport entire fleets instantaneously across galactic distances or trap enemy vessels in temporal loops that effectively removed them from the battle entirely. But perhaps more importantly, humanity was already working on Phase 3, the development of technologies that would make traditional warfare obsolete entirely. Dr. Tanaka's latest research suggested that it might be possible to create weapons that could alter the fundamental constants of physics in localized areas, effectively making it impossible for alien technology to function at all. We're not just building better weapons, Dr. Tanaka explained to Admiral Chen during a briefing on the Phase 3 research. We're developing the ability to rewrite the rules of reality itself. An enemy fleet would find their fusion reactors simply unable to sustain fusion, their faster-than-light drives incapable of achieving superluminal velocities, their weapons unable to generate the energy needed to fire. The implications were staggering. Humanity was not just achieving military superiority. They were approaching the capability to render all other military forces in the galaxy completely powerless. The species that had been dismissed as primitive was on the verge of becoming the ultimate apex predator in a universe where no other civilization could even comprehend the nature of the threat they represented. But the most remarkable aspect of humanity's position was that none of this had been driven by aggression or expansionist ambitions. Every development had been motivated purely by the desire to survive in a galaxy where more established civilizations viewed them as either vassals or targets for elimination. Humanity had been forced to become the most dangerous species in the galaxy simply to earn the right to exist as an independent civilization. The irony was not lost on human leadership. By treating humanity as an inferior species unworthy of respect, the alien civilizations had created exactly the kind of existential threat they had been trying to prevent. Their casual dismissal of human capabilities had given humanity the time and motivation to develop technologies that now made them virtually unstoppable. As Admiral Chen watched the final systems tests on the last of the 12 dreadnoughts, she reflected on how completely the galactic balance of power had shifted. 6 months ago, humanity had been a minor species hoping to avoid the attention of their more powerful neighbors. Now they possessed a military capability that exceeded anything else in known space, with even more advanced systems coming online within the year. The universe had indeed never seen them coming, but now that humanity had revealed themselves, nothing would ever be the same. The species that had spent 25 years pretending to be weak had become the strongest force in the galaxy, and they had done it so quietly that even now, most of their enemies had no idea how thoroughly they had been outmaneuvered. The dreadnoughts that hung in space around Charlie 7 were more than just weapons. They were symbols of what could be achieved when an entire species focused all of their intelligence, creativity, and determination on a single goal. Humanity had not just built ships. They had built a future where their children would never have to bow to alien masters or accept the limitations that others tried to impose upon them. And the most beautiful part of their success was that the universe was only now beginning to understand what humanity had accomplished in the shadows of space, building their salvation one secret at a time. And the most beautiful part of their success was that the universe was only now beginning to understand what humanity had accomplished in the shadows of space, building their salvation one secret at a time. The full scope of that accomplishment became clear 3 months later when the Sundari made their move. The ancient species, which had ruled portions of the galaxy for over 10,000 years, had remained silent since humanity's demonstration against the Kethrans. But their silence had been the calm before a storm that would test every aspect of humanity's hidden preparations. The attack came without warning. Sundari battle fleets materialized simultaneously at 12 human colonies, their ships emerging from some form of faster-than-light travel that human sensors had never detected before. Each fleet consisted of vessels that dwarfed even humanity's dreadnoughts, sleek constructions of dark matter and exotic energy that seemed to bend space around themselves. "Admiral, we're detecting massive energy signatures at all outer colonies," reported Commander Webb from the Prometheus's tactical station. "The Sundari have deployed what appears to be their entire military force. Each target site shows at least 50 capital ships." Admiral Chen felt her stomach tighten as she processed the numbers. 600 Sundari vessels against humanity's 12 dreadnoughts represented odds that even their advanced technology might not be able to overcome. But as she prepared to issue orders for the fleet to engage, a priority communication from Earth Command changed everything. "Admiral Chen, this is Director Walsh of Project Leviathan. You are hereby ordered to maintain position and observe. Repeat, maintain position and observe. Phase 2 assets are deploying." Sarah had known about Phase 2 in general terms, but she had assumed the next-generation vessels were still months away from completion. As she watched her tactical displays, she realized how wrong that assumption had been. The first indication that something extraordinary was happening came from the colony of New Geneva, where 50 Sundari warships had been preparing to commence orbital bombardment. The alien vessels simply stopped, hanging motionless in space as if time itself had frozen around them. "What are we seeing?" Sarah demanded of her sensor operators. "Unknown, Admiral. The Sundari ships are showing no movement, no energy output, no communications. They appear to be completely inactive, but our sensors aren't detecting any weapons fire or system failures." The same phenomenon was occurring at every human colony under attack. Hundreds of Sundari vessels, representing the most advanced military technology in known space, had simply ceased to function. They hung in space like elaborate sculptures, beautiful but utterly powerless. The explanation came in a transmission from Dr. Tanaka, broadcast on secured channels to all human military units. "Phase 2 deployment successful. Local physics modification is now active at all target zones. Enemy vessels are experiencing suspension of fundamental force interactions. Fusion reactions cannot sustain, electromagnetic fields cannot form, strong nuclear force is suppressed to 40% normal levels." Admiral Chen stared at her displays in amazement. Humanity had not just built better weapons. They had deployed technology that could rewrite the laws of physics in localized areas. The Sundari ships were not damaged or destroyed. They simply existed in regions of space where their technology could not function. But the demonstration was not over. As the alien fleets hung helplessly in modified space, new contacts appeared on human sensors. These were not the massive dreadnoughts that had shocked the Kethrans, but smaller vessels that seemed to flicker in and out of existence as they moved. "Phase 2 vessels are now engaging," announced Dr. Tanaka's voice. "Temporal displacement drives are operational." What followed challenged everything the galaxy thought it knew about warfare. The human Phase 2 ships did not attack the Sundari vessels in any conventional sense. Instead, they seemed to dance around the enemy fleet, appearing and disappearing in patterns that hurt to follow. Each time a human ship materialized near a Sundari vessel, the alien ship would simply vanish. "Where are the Sundari ships going?" Commander Webb asked, his voice tight with confusion. The answer came from an unexpected source, a communication from the Sundari flagship, transmitted on emergency frequencies that reached every vessel in the system. "Human fleet, This is Arch-Commander Zeth Prime of the Sindari Dominion. We request immediate cessation of hostilities. Our vessels are being displaced to locations approximately 12,000 years in the past. Our crews are unharmed, but they are now stranded in a period before our civilization achieved interstellar flight. The implications hit Admiral Chen like a physical blow. Humanity had not just defeated the Sindari fleet, they had removed it from the timeline entirely. The enemy ships and crews still existed, but they had been transported to an era when they posed no threat to anyone. "This is Admiral Chen of the United Earth Fleet," Sarah responded after consulting quickly with Earth Command. "Hostilities will cease when all Sindari forces withdraw from human space and your government formally recognizes human sovereignty. Your displaced vessels will be returned to the present timeline once these conditions are met." The speed of the Sindari surrender was almost anticlimactic. Within hours, every Sindari fleet had withdrawn from human territory, and formal recognition of human independence was transmitted through official galactic diplomatic channels. The species that had dominated portions of the galaxy for millennia had been forced to acknowledge human authority after a battle that had lasted less than 30 minutes. But perhaps more importantly, the demonstration had revealed to the galaxy that humanity's capabilities extended far beyond advanced weapons or defensive systems. They had developed technology that could manipulate time itself, giving them the ability to remove threats from history without killing anyone. It was a level of power that no other civilization had ever approached. The response from the Galactic Council was immediate and panicked. Emergency sessions were called, ancient treaties were invoked, and species that had been enemies for centuries began discussing alliance possibilities against the human threat. But every discussion reached the same conclusion. There was no defense against an enemy that could rewrite physics and manipulate time. "How do you fight someone who can send your entire fleet into the past?" demanded Counselor Thixvar during one of the emergency sessions that human intelligence continued to monitor. "How do you negotiate with a species that can apparently violate causality itself?" The answer to those questions would reshape galactic civilization in ways that no one could have predicted. Over the following months, every major alien power began reaching out to humanity through diplomatic channels, seeking not to challenge Earth's position, but to secure favorable relationships with the new dominant force in the galaxy. The Altarian Trade Federation offered exclusive trading agreements and technology-sharing arrangements. The Kethran Empire proposed a formal military alliance, with humanity providing strategic oversight in exchange for access to Kethran industrial resources. Even the reclusive hegemony emerged from centuries of isolation to request cultural exchange programs with Earth. But humanity's response to these overtures revealed another layer of their long-term planning. Rather than leveraging their overwhelming advantage to establish dominance over alien civilizations, Earth's leadership proposed something that no one had expected: a complete restructuring of galactic governance based on principles of equality and mutual cooperation. "Humanity has no interest in becoming the galaxy's overlord," President Harrison announced during her address to the assembled alien ambassadors on Earth. "We have developed these capabilities out of necessity to ensure our species' survival. Now that our security is assured, we want to work with all civilizations to create a galactic community based on respect rather than fear." The proposal was both generous and strategically brilliant. By offering to share their advanced technologies and defensive capabilities with alien civilizations, humanity would create a galaxy-wide network of allies who depended on human protection rather than a collection of enemies plotting revenge. The species that had been forced to build the ultimate weapons would use those weapons to guarantee peace. The implementation of this new galactic order revealed the true scope of humanity's preparations. It became clear that Earth's intelligence operatives had not just been gathering information about alien technology and military capabilities. They had been studying alien cultures, governments, and social structures, with the goal of understanding how to create lasting stability. Dr. Lisa Park, who had spent 5 years at the Kethran Institute of Technology, was revealed to be a specialist in alien psychology and social dynamics. Captain James Morrison's trading network had actually been mapping economic relationships and resource dependencies throughout the galaxy. Lieutenant Colonel Maria Santos had become an expert in alien agricultural and environmental management systems. "We weren't just preparing for war," Admiral Chen explained to her senior staff as humanity's true objectives became clear. "We were preparing for peace. Every piece of intelligence we gathered, Every technology we developed, every relationship we built, was designed to create a galaxy where conflicts could be resolved without devastation. The results exceeded even humanity's ambitious goals. Within 2 years of revealing their dreadnoughts, Earth had become the center of a galactic confederation that included every major alien civilization. The technologies humanity shared, carefully selected to be beneficial without revealing their most advanced capabilities, revolutionized agriculture, medicine, and communication throughout known space. More importantly, the demonstration of humanity's temporal manipulation capabilities had created a deterrent so absolute that military conflicts between member species became virtually unthinkable. No civilization wanted to risk having their entire fleet displaced to the distant past, and the knowledge that humanity could selectively edit troublemakers out of the timeline created powerful incentives for peaceful behavior. But perhaps the most remarkable transformation was in humanity itself. The species that had spent 25 years in hiding, pretending to be weak while building ultimate weapons, had emerged as the galaxy's peacekeepers and protectors. Young humans who had grown up believing their species was insignificant in the cosmic order now found themselves serving as diplomats, teachers, and guardians for civilizations that were thousands of years older than their own. The Prometheus, which had been built as a warship to defend humanity against alien aggression, was refitted as a mobile headquarters for the Galactic Cooperation Council. Its weapons remained operational but unused, a reminder of humanity's capabilities that made their peaceful leadership all the more impressive. Admiral Chen, who had spent her career preparing for humanity's desperate last stand against alien invasion, found herself coordinating joint scientific expeditions to explore the galaxy's most mysterious regions. The skills she had developed for military planning translated perfectly to managing complex interstellar cooperation projects. It's ironic, she mentioned to Dr. Tanaka during one of their regular strategy meetings. We built the most devastating military force in galactic history, and we're using it to prevent anyone from ever needing to fight again. Dr. Tanaka smiled, looking out through the observation deck at a mixed fleet of human and alien vessels conducting joint training exercises. Maybe that was always the point. Maybe the only way to truly win a war is to make it impossible for wars to happen. The observation proved prophetic as humanity's influence continued to expand throughout the galaxy. The Phase 3 technologies, which could selectively disable the physical laws that made weapons function, were deployed as peacekeeping tools that could end conflicts without causing casualties. Disputes between alien civilizations were resolved through mediation, backed by the implicit threat of temporal displacement for anyone who refused to negotiate in good faith. But humanity's greatest achievement was not technological but cultural. By demonstrating that a species could develop ultimate power without using it for conquest or domination, Earth had provided a model for how advanced civilizations could interact with their neighbors. The galaxy that had been characterized by endless cycles of expansion, conflict, and subjugation was gradually transforming into a cooperative community focused on exploration and mutual benefit. The transformation was perhaps most visible in the next generation of beings growing up throughout the galaxy. Young aliens learned human languages alongside their own, studied Earth's history and philosophy, and often chose to serve apprenticeships on human worlds. For the first time in galactic history, a dominant species was actively working to educate and empower other civilizations rather than exploit them. As Admiral Chen approached her 5th year as coordinator of the Galactic Cooperation Council, she received a communication that brought everything full circle. It was from Admiral Voska, the Kithron officer, whose fleet had been the first to experience humanity's true capabilities. Admiral Chen, the message began, I wanted to express my gratitude for the restraint your species showed during our first encounter. You could have destroyed my fleet, but instead you chose to teach us that there was a better way to resolve our differences. My own children are now studying at human universities, learning about cooperation and peaceful problem-solving. They will grow up in a galaxy where strength is measured not by the ability to destroy enemies, but by the capacity to help others thrive. Reading that message, Sarah realized that humanity had achieved something far greater than military victory or political dominance. They had fundamentally changed the nature of civilization itself, transforming a galaxy characterized by fear and competition into one defined by hope and collaboration. The species that had been forced to build the ultimate weapons in secret had used those weapons to create the ultimate peace. And in doing so, they had proven that sometimes the greatest strength comes not from the ability to destroy, but from the wisdom to know when destruction is unnecessary. The Dreadnoughts still hung in space around the outer solar system, their quantum weapons powered down but ready, a reminder of humanity's capabilities that made their peaceful leadership all the more remarkable. They were no longer humanity's secret shame, but their proudest achievement. The weapons that had been built to ensure survival had instead guaranteed prosperity for every thinking being in the galaxy. The universe had indeed never seen them coming, but now that they had arrived, the universe was a better place for everyone who called it home. The universe had indeed never seen them coming, but now that they had arrived, the universe was a better place for everyone who called it home. That assumption would be tested 7 years later when long-range sensors detected something that challenged everything the galactic community thought they knew about the cosmos. The discovery came from a joint human-Sindari deep space exploration mission operating near the galactic rim, where ancient automated probes had been mapping previously unexplored star systems. Admiral Chen, we're receiving a priority transmission from the exploration vessel Harmony, Commander Webb reported from his station aboard the Prometheus. They're requesting immediate conference with you and the Council leadership. The message is marked as unprecedented discovery. The video communication that followed would fundamentally alter humanity's understanding of their place in the universe. Captain Elena Rodriguez of the Harmony appeared on screen with an expression that mixed excitement with deep concern. Admiral, we found something that changes everything we thought we knew about galactic history. Rodriguez began without preamble. We've discovered the remains of a civilization that was completely unknown to any of our historical records. But these aren't just ruins, Admiral. The technology we're seeing here is so advanced that it makes our Phase 3 systems look primitive. The images that followed defied easy comprehension. Vast structures floating in space around a dead star system, constructions that seemed to fold space around themselves in impossible geometries. Ships that were simultaneously present in multiple locations, existing in quantum superposition on a scale that humanity's best theoretical physicists had thought impossible. But most disturbing were the signs of what had happened to this unknown civilization. The structures showed evidence of catastrophic destruction, but not from any form of warfare that the galactic community had ever encountered. Entire sections of space seemed to have been edited out of existence, leaving behind voids that hurt to look at directly. How old are these ruins? Admiral Chen asked, though she suspected the answer would be unsettling. That's the problem, Admiral. Our dating methods are giving us contradictory results. Some readings suggest the civilization existed millions of years ago, others indicate they were destroyed just yesterday. And some of our instruments are registering temporal signatures that suggest they exist both in the past and the future simultaneously. The implications sent shockwaves through the Galactic Cooperation Council. For 7 years, humanity and their alien allies had operated under the assumption that they represented the pinnacle of technological development in the galaxy. The discovery of a civilization that had achieved capabilities beyond even humanity's most advanced theoretical research suggested that the galaxy held secrets that no one had imagined. Dr. Tanaka led the scientific expedition to study the ruins, accompanied by specialists from every member civilization of the Council. What they found challenged not just their understanding of technology, but their comprehension of reality itself. These structures aren't built from matter as we understand it, Dr. Tanaka reported during her first briefing to the Council. They appear to be constructed from crystallized space-time, held together by forces that our physics cannot even describe. And the energy signatures we're detecting suggest they were powered by harnessing the fundamental force that drives universal expansion itself. But perhaps more disturbing than the technology was what they found in the ruins' data repositories. The destroyed civilization, which had called itself the Architects, had not been alone in achieving such advanced capabilities. The galaxy had once been home to dozens of species with technology that transcended conventional physics, all of them working together in a confederation that made the current Galactic Cooperation Council look like a primitive tribal alliance. They had achieved what we're still struggling toward, Dr. Tanaka explained to Admiral Chen during a private briefing. True galactic unity, with every species contributing their unique capabilities to collective advancement. They had eliminated not just war, but scarcity, aging, even death itself. They had become, for all practical purposes, gods. The question that haunted everyone who studied the ruins was what could have destroyed such an advanced civilization. The evidence suggested that the architects and their allies had not been defeated by external enemies or internal conflicts. Instead, they appeared to have been erased by something that existed outside conventional reality entirely. The answer came from the deepest data vaults in the ruins, information encoded in quantum fluctuations that required humanity's most advanced decryption systems to interpret. What they discovered was a warning, left behind by the last survivors of the architect civilization as their reality collapsed around them. The translation is still incomplete, Dr. Tanaka reported to the emergency session of the Council, but the message is clear enough. The architects discovered that their universe was not unique. They made contact with entities from parallel realities, beings who existed in dimensions where the laws of physics were fundamentally different. The contact had initially been peaceful, with both sides sharing knowledge about their respective realities. But the dimensional entities had gradually revealed a disturbing truth. They were refugees from their own universes, fleeing from something they called the null, a force that consumed entire realities by unmaking the mathematical structures that allowed existence itself. The architects thought they could help these refugees find a new home in our reality, Dr. Tanaka continued. But the process of opening permanent dimensional gateways created vulnerabilities that the null could exploit. The more advanced their technology became, the more visible they made our universe to forces that exist beyond the boundaries of space and time. The implications were terrifying. The architects had not been destroyed by conquest or war, but by their own success. Their advancement had made them detectable to entities that existed in the spaces between realities, beings whose very presence unraveled the mathematical constants that made matter, energy, and consciousness possible. "Are we facing the same risk?" President Harrison asked during the classified briefing with humanity's leadership. "Has our own technological advancement made us visible to these null entities?" Dr. Tanaka's response was sobering. "Unknown, but likely. Our quantum manipulation technology, especially our ability to edit local physics and manipulate time, operates on principles very similar to what the architects were using. We may have already drawn their attention without realizing it. The revelation sparked the most intensive scientific research effort in galactic history. Every member civilization of the Council contributed their best minds to understanding the threat posed by the null and developing potential defenses against entities that existed outside conventional reality. But the research revealed an even more disturbing truth. The signs were already present. Deep space monitoring stations had been detecting subtle anomalies in the cosmic background radiation, tiny distortions that suggested reality itself was being probed by outside forces. The fabric of space-time was developing microscopic tears that hadn't been there a decade earlier. "The process is gradual," Dr. Tanaka explained to Admiral Chen as they reviewed the latest findings. "The null doesn't simply invade realities. It studies them first, learning the mathematical structures that hold them together. Then it begins a systematic process of undermining those structures, causing reality to collapse from within." The countdown had already begun, though no one could predict how much time remained. The galactic community faced a threat that couldn't be fought with conventional weapons or deterred through diplomacy. They were being hunted by entities that existed in the spaces between realities, beings whose very presence caused the universe to forget how to exist. Humanity's response to this ultimate challenge revealed the full extent of how their species had evolved since emerging from their solar system. Rather than retreating into isolation or attempting to hide from the threat, Earth's leadership proposed the most ambitious project in galactic history: the construction of a reality anchor, a massive structure that would reinforce the mathematical foundations of their universe and make it immune to external interference. The architects failed because they were trying to defend against the null while simultaneously maintaining their dimensional research, Admiral Chen explained to the assembled council. "We need to take a different approach. Instead of trying to hide from entities that exist outside reality, we need to make our reality so stable and self-contained that it becomes invisible to them." The Reality Anchor project required technologies that didn't yet exist, and cooperation on a scale that had never been attempted. Every civilization in the Council would need to contribute not just resources and expertise, but fundamental aspects of their cultural and scientific heritage. The structure would need to incorporate mathematical principles from dozens of different species, creating a hybrid understanding of reality that was more robust than any single civilization could achieve. As Admiral Chen reviewed the project specifications one final time, she realized that humanity had accomplished something far greater than building the galaxy's most powerful weapons. They had created a universe where former enemies would willingly share their deepest secrets to protect each other, where species that had warred for millennia would work together to preserve everything they had ever valued. The dreadnoughts that had been built in secret to ensure human survival had become the foundation for galactic unity that could face any threat, no matter how impossible it seemed. The universe had never seen them coming, but now that they had arrived, they had made sure the universe itself would never have to fear extinction again. The end.